I did like 2,800 the first week, and I did like 2,600 or something like the second week.
What'd you think after that?
Well, my wife said, "What is this going to work?" I said, "Not at the production level I'm getting now." I said, "But
not without address."
I said, "But I am very highly encouraged." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, here's what I know. These leads were 2 years old. I had to struggle to find them, but there was people there that needed me. There's people there that needed what we do. If I can turn this into where I'm getting regular, consistent leads, and I have a system, and I can actually do this full time where I'm not distracted and doing anything else.
Yeah,
you can very easily make a couple $100,000 a year, 3 to 4 days a week.
Oh my gosh,
very easily do that."
Yeah.
And she said, "Do you think this is a good decision for us?" I said, "I'm still testing it." And so I kept playing around with it, and it was several months later when I finally submitted a letter to my partners and that I was leaving our own company and
Wow.
to chase another dream.
Hey, welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. Today's guest, I'm going to set it up right today. Okay, I'm going to give you some a clue as Dylan is shooting me. I'm going to give you a clue who we're interviewing today. Incredible freaking guest, a buddy of mine, industry freak. Okay, that's doing a lot of stuff, man. Creator of the Life Insurance Academy and Life Insurance Academy podcast, which is booming. #1 life insurance podcast in the world, maybe insurance podcast in the world, from Louisville, Kentucky. Chief Visionary Officer of Impact Legacy Group, right, with my father, Brian Askins, an amazing company helping thousands of agents right now. Mentor on the Ultimate Agent Contest Season 1 and coming back for Season 2 very soon. Spoke at 3 8% conferences and is going to tell his story about how there was one year, man, he wrote $137,400 by the third week of May. Please welcome back to the channel, Roger Short.
I like how you slid that in there, $137,400 by the third week of May.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
Dude, I appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate being here.
It's good to have you in Spring. You're actually going to be in Spring for three weeks out of a month.
This month, yeah.
This month, March 2023, right? Which is crazy.
You've created a mecca.
Dude.
What's going on,
And I keep inviting you to stuff,
What's going on? You keep inviting me to stuff.
Man.
And it's like no direct flights in here, but it's always worth the trip.
Dude,
I
love you being here. We always have a blast together.
Yeah.
This is a good dude, man. When I say that, I really mean it. Also, husband, father of 3 awesome girls, women. They're freaking growing old now, man, right? Pickleball player.
Yeah.
Speaker. What do you not do? Maybe we should start there,
Oh, there's a lot that I don't do. We won't go there.
Golfer?
Yeah, golfer. I used to be golfer.
I was messing with
my time in playing golf right now has been limited.
Yeah, Me and you both so busy, man. Well, dude, you've got an incredible resume. You've accomplished a lot. You're doing a lot. You're helping a ton of agents. The life insurance piece, why life insurance? A lot of it, you could sell anything.
Well, I've always had a bent towards sales. I think once I realized I was a good communicator, and then I could figure out how to listen to people's, situations and help formulate a way to help solve their problems, then you can really apply that to anything.
True. And you are helping agents with Medicare and, health and annuities and that kind of stuff now, but life has always been a core.
Yeah. It's how we got started. It still is with the Life Insurance Academy podcast and all the training there. It's all based on life sales, whether it be annuities or, mortgage protection or final expense, whatever. I mean, that's the base of the whole platform, really. But I got into the business because I had an interest in financial services. My oldest brother, who is now 71 in Canada, and he still works every day.
And Roger's not 71, in case you're wondering.
Not yet. My oldest brother, there's a big range in our family. I'm the youngest of 9 children.
So.
Yeah, my oldest sister is 19 years older than me.
He's got you by 2 decades, right? Ish.
Almost, yeah. I'm in my 50s. He's 71. So
you notice he just said 50s.
Yeah.
It's good.
So he's been in the financial services business for most of his life. His son works with him. They have a small office in a small town, but they manage a very large book of business for a really good clientele, and he's been serving them for years. So whenever we were going through change or anything, I kind of always gravitated back, that's a great way to help people with their finances. I mean, who doesn't need help with financial planning, money, making sure, who's teaching that stuff? I mean, financial literacy is not being taught anywhere. It's not being taught in high school, elementary school, college, nowhere. And so I always had a bent towards that. And so when I was here in the U.S., obviously I was transitioning out of another business that I came here to start in the Yellow Page business, but I went looking for something else. And I started investigating insurance, and then I found out about this thing called final expense, and I had no clue what that was.
Yeah. What did you think it was when you hear the words final expense?
I didn't even know it was insurance at first.
Sounds so like
it was
final.
Like, it was morbid. To me, initially, it was morbid. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And then I found out there was this market that, with the baby boomers, all these people turning 65, and a lot of people in that middle to low income group didn't have proper planning in place, didn't have their finances in order because nobody taught them financial literacy. Now they need some help with, end of life planning and costs and things like that. And so I decided to look into it, and I found out there was a huge market. There was a huge market in the final expense space.
As I'm shooting on my Instagram story doing this for those listening to audio.
That's right. And so I investigated it, and I realized there's a lot of people in like middle America and low income families that need someone to help them. And a lot of these people were marginalized.
True.
When I came from a big family, so I had a lot of older aunts and uncles, my grandparents. So like I related to it. And I'm like, I could do that. And so I found a guy that was lived across I found out a guy that was selling this across the river in southern Indiana.
It wasn't drugs. This is life insurance.
His name was Fred, and I found out that he lived on a Fuzzy Zollers golf course over in southern Indiana, and was very well to do, and he was selling final expense. So I called him up and I said, hey, my name is, and I'd like to come see what you do. And he goes, sure, let's set it up. So like 2 or 3.
How'd you hear this guy?
I networked. I found him. I networked and found him through someone that I was working with currently at the time in my own company.
Okay.
And I made arrangements, and I went over and I rode along with him for 2 days. I just got in his car. He drove a beautiful Corvette, lived on a golf course on hole like number 12 or 13 on Covered Bridge Golf Course in southern Indiana. And we pulled an old Malibu out with 2 doors, and that's what we drove all day.
So he didn't take the Corvette to the final expense moments.
No.
I tried to do that with like a Cadillac CTS coupe one time, and that didn't go so well.
Yeah. So we got in the Malibu. You kind of got to lift the door to shut it because the doors were so heavy, 2 doors. Yeah. And it was like a yellow beige. I mean, it was not impressive at all.
Perfect.
And we went to Quiznos Sub. He knew everybody in there. It's like he did his same routine every day, 10:30, 11 o'clock, go in and get his, you remember Quiznos?
Oh, yeah.
Quiznos Sub, the grilled subs. And then we left, and we were just driving around. And I was like, well, who do you have appointments with? He said, I don't have any. And he pulled out these pink cards that said, supplement your government benefit of $255. There was not one bit of language on there about life insurance. It was just about taking care of final expenses. And we were just going and knocking on doors. We covered 4 counties that day. He called it a cleanup week. I was like, what is that? Wow. He said, well, I do this mail, and after about 4, 6, 8 weeks, I have all these leads that I never got to. He said, I put them all together, and then I run those. I call it my cleanup week. And he said, that's where you're going with me this week.
That's cool.
I was literally getting nauseous driving these back roads through Indiana. And by the end of the day, we had helped a family. There was one family whose wife had passed away the year before. Lived in a beautiful mobile home, and it was all decorated, nice potted flowers on the thing, and a nice little side deck built on it. It was beautiful. Yeah. We went into that house and sat down, and the obituary for his wife was sitting over here on the table, laminated. And Fred was here, and Mr. Williamson was here. And I was just observing, and I could see the obituary. Nobody ever mentioned the obituary the entire time. Fred just helped him with help finding. Asked why he needed something. He goes, "Well, my son said, we're still paying for Mom's funeral, and he said, Dad, if something happens to you, we're gonna be in a tough spot." He said, "So I need some coverage." And so Fred helped him out. We were only there like 45 minutes. Fred is very matter of fact. Got up. Well, thank you, Mr. Williamson. Shook his hand, and when he shook his hand, Mr. Williamson pulled him in close and put his arm around him like that and said, "Thank you for helping me." And when he did, I could see like a tear in his eye. And it got me. Just hit me right there. Boom. I just got emotional for a moment. I got this soft spot. And like it all connected, man. It all connected. And I was like, that made a difference in that man's life. And then we drove around for 2 more hours. And it was like nothing. And I was thinking, well, that was a good experience. But this driving around stuff's for the birds. There's got to be a way to systemize this. Well, that evening we strolled in on another couple. And he ended up selling a policy to the husband and wife. So we wrote 3 applications that day for like 2,800
Wow.
that day. And we go home. And Fred drops me off at like 9:40 at his house. It was just getting dark. It's in late summer or late
At
summer.
night?
At night. Yeah.
What time did you leave?
We left at 10:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he didn't start too early door knocking wise.
No, I met with him at 9, and from 9 to 10:30 we just talked about stuff in his office
Got
there on the golf course, and then
You were driving
then we were
out
just
for
driving around
11 hours.
for 11 hours, yeah. And $2,800. Well, I went and did the same thing again the next day, exact same routine. Like repeat. It was like
Quiznos too?
Is this exact same
Shut
routine,
up.
same sandwich.
Did he order the same
It
thing?
was like freaking Groundhog Day. It's all
Same
over
sandwich.
again. And did the exact same thing. And he had his same routine every time. He didn't even have a presentation. He just used like the American Amicable brochure. That's what he sold out of.
Got it.
And by the end of that second day, he had written like $4,300 in premium in 2 days. So I get home again at 9:40, and then I had to drive 40 minutes to my house over in Kentucky. I get home, my wife said, "What do you think?" She said, "Where have you been?" I said, "Just visiting people, like old people. That's what we've been doing." She said, "Like appointments?" I said, no appointments. It's really odd. Like, because my business, like we set appointments Monday.
B2B.
Yeah, business to business. Yeah. And we had a bullpen, and all the reps were in there, and we set 25 appointments for the week. And then Tuesday through Friday, we were out seeing business owners, and everyone was dressed up. Here we were like wearing khakis and a polo and a thing around your neck and knocking on people's doors. And that's just how it did it. But she said, "Is there money in this? Or, I mean, is there a legitimate?" I did the commissions, and at that point, I think it was like an 85% contract or whatever. And I did
That's
the
what
commissions.
you would have been on, right, at that point?
Yeah, and I looked at the commissions. I said, "Yeah, you can make a good living in this." I said, "If you had a way to systemize this, you could scale this into a good company."
Yeah.
So that was the start. I didn't start then. It was several months later before I ever got around and got my license. But that opened the door to an opportunity, and that stuck with me.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing him make like $4,000 in like 2 days.
Yes.
And what for you could have been very close to that, over the course of the whole year.
Yeah, well, that was just 2 days. I'm like, well,
how many days did he do that? 4?
4 days a week.
4 days, and he just didn't work the other 3, or
No, he did Monday to Thursday.
did he have an admin day, or he?
He did admin on Thursday afternoon, and he played golf on Friday. That was it.
Wow.
That
Did
was
he
the
submit the
schedule.
Monday apps on Thursday or on Monday?
No, he submitted them that night.
That night.
Yeah, actually,
Played golf on
no,
Friday.
he submitted them in the mornings. So between
Got it.
8:30 and 10 in the mornings, that's when he would submit all of his business, and then he'd go back out again.
That's
So
cool.
that's just what I saw. No appointments,
Yeah.
weird leads, these mailers. I didn't know where they came from. Like, I was just trying to figure it all
Yeah.
out, man. That's
Does that still work today? 2023.
Direct mail leads?
Post-COVID, not just direct mail, but like exactly what he did.
100%.
Yeah.
That actually still works. Yes.
It really does, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still works. There's people producing at a high level doing that.
And it's what do you think about, like, I want to interject back into your story and like continue where you took it from, Fred, and sort of doing your own thing. But there's a lot of agents that they see that, or they think about like leads and phone calls and booking appointments, and it can kind of be that can work too, but can be more overwhelming. And so there's some people that are like, man, I'm scared to death of the phone. They could just get leads and door knock.
Yeah.
It's like an alternative solution, an idea. I mean, helping people and succeeding and making money is more important than the way that you do it.
100%. I think a lot of people put throttles, like they put governors. Like when you're riding a golf cart and you're trying to go fast, and it only goes so
Especially
fast.
when you're going down a hill.
Yeah, and it
it's
starts slowing down automatically. You can't go fast.
Yeah.
I think we as people, our nature is to put governors on opportunities.
True.
Because we'll see the stop sign first before we see the green light. Like we're looking at the things that can stop us from having success, that can prevent us from having success. Is that difficult? Can I do it? Can I fit it in? What about work-life balance? How's this going to work in transition? Am I going to lose money? What am I risking? I mean, we're bent. I mean, human psychology has a bent towards a bias towards the negative, right? And
Why is that?
I think it's human nature. One of the biases is towards why things won't work as opposed to why things will. And I think there's a difference between the people who say, I can find a way to make things work.
Yeah.
Most other people will follow the masses, and they take advice and direction from the masses, whether directly or indirectly, by either observing, copying, or direct advice. And they don't ever put themselves into the room or in the mindset of people who think, I see opportunity first. Simon Sinek was who wrote the book Start With Why.
Yep.
A famous writer, speaker. He speaks all over.
Phenomenal too.
He and a buddy of his were running a mini marathon, I believe it was, and it might have been in New York. I don't quote me on where it was, But he tells a story about when they finished, his friend had to be somewhere else. And whenever you finish one of those half marathons, I've run like 5 or 6 of those when I was in my 30s, and my wife and I used to run a bunch of these. And whenever you finish, there's like these big long tables with like bagels and sometimes bananas and oranges and water. And then if you're at one sponsored by like Michelob, well, there's a whole beer tent. You can go get a beer, at the end.
That's for Dylan.
Yeah. And so they came up to the end, and Simon Sinek was like, hey, man, they got bagels. And his friends was like, well, look at the line. And there was a big line going up there. And he goes, man, we got to go. And he goes, but dude, bagels. He goes, Simon, the line. And anyway, he turned, and his friend kept walking, and he turned and went back over to the table. Well, he looked at this big line. It was a big wide table like this one. And over here were the bagels that, the regular bagels. Inside were the bagels everyone wanted. And then the line was coming and reaching in here. Well, he just walked up to the side of the table. He didn't butt it in. He didn't cut anyone off. And he just reached in and took one of the regular bagels and walked away. And he walked back over to his friend. And his friend said, dude, did you cut line? He goes, no, I didn't cut line. I just went around the other side and grabbed one of the regular bagels. I didn't interrupt anybody. I just went and got what I wanted. He said, dude, why do you always do stuff like that? He goes, because you always see the line and I see the bagels. So like a lot of us will see the stop signs. We have the a bias towards the negative of why things won't work. And then we put governors on our opportunities as opposed to saying, how can it work? Okay, if there's an idea or concept there that can work, how can I then put my brain power behind it, maybe collaborate with some other people and figure out a system where I can make it work for me?
That's good. Do you think our past impact, because you always say me like life hasn't like knocked me down as much as others, and so I naturally just freaking try anything, right? But I do think our past will determine how we see an opportunity.
Yeah, and I think people respond differently to that. I think some people get the crap kicked out of them and have opportunities and they have to fight for everything.
Correct.
And then they have this big, hard, resilient, and overcoming success story, and it's very inspiring, right?
Yes.
But so many people never make it out from under there. You never hear about their stories because they never surface. Sadly, some of them, lose their life through depression and all kinds of things that can happen.
True.
Abuse and, there's just so many things. And then there's other people who have opportunities provided for them that take for granted what they have, and they still don't take advantage of opportunities because they've always had it easy.
Yeah,
I think it's people who will look at life and see the green light versus the red light. I think the people who see green for go rather than red for stop, is the people who will find a way forward, no matter what adversity you have to overcome.
True.
And I mean, you've had a great relationship with your father. Your dad's been successful in business.
Totally.
But one of the things you've always had that you've had to fight through is you were almost fighting vicariously for your father in some ways. Would you say that?
I would agree with that.
You were like fighting for him because you saw something, an injustice that was done to him and to your family.
Yep.
And it was personal. It hurt him. Because he was successful in business, and then that opportunity was taken away from him, and he had to start over.
Correct.
And you're like, we will make this name known, right? And so you did have a chip on your shoulder. It didn't happen to you directly, but an adversity happened to your family, and you stood in there and fought with your family to succeed. And so I think we all have those things, but some people will look at the red for stop and lay down. And other people just say, hey, if there's an idea, if there's a way forward, I can figure out how to do it. Let's figure it out. So when I saw that final expense opportunity, man, I was like, we're just driving around. What if you set appointments? What if you got on a really consistent lead program? What if you hired 10 agents and put them on a platform and get them in a bullpen and do a call center? And my brain was just like firing.
But Fred didn't do any of that, really.
No.
He just played golf, lived on a golf course.
Yeah, but he did recruit. He did recruit some people.
Okay.
Yeah, he did recruit some people.
Well, I guess he recruit you?
He quit. He quit on me.
Shut up.
He quit.
So he's not interested now.
I don't think so.
He probably won't even watch this.
No.
Come on, Fred. What are you doing, bro?
He could have still been making money. We could have still been making money together.
True.
Yeah. That was a bad decision to quit on me.
So yeah, very bad. He'd have made a lot of money by now. So what? Gosh dang, you guys enjoying this, right? Let me know in the comments, man, how much you love this dude, Roger Short. Okay, so then you jump in,
yeah,
and you start selling. Talk through that.
Well, back then, I just wanted to get in front of people. I knew I didn't know anything. And one thing that you'll learn when you get in the business for the first time is you don't know what you don't know. That's why you don't have.
Which is a better attitude to say, like, I don't know anything than I freaking know everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think a lot of us will come into things and say, well, I'm gonna take all of this and apply it here and I'll be successful, rather than just coming in like with a clean slate and say, fail as fast as I can, figure this stuff out.
Amen.
And so this concept, I don't know what I don't know, therefore I don't have. Like that, a very successful businessman when I was in my 20s said that to me one time, and it stuck. You don't know what you don't know. That's why you don't have. It was like, that is the most basic thought process ever.
Yeah.
Okay. Like if you think about it, I mean, yes, that makes total sense.
Yep.
The reason why I don't have is because I don't know. Like Elon knows stuff that we don't know. That's why he's got stuff that we don't have.
Can you imagine what he knows that we don't know?
You understand? Like there's everybody in life is like that. And so I realized I didn't know what I didn't know about this. So I just had to figure it out. So I got my license. I got 2 or 3 carriers. I figured I don't need 20. I just need 2 or 3.
Talk through that real quick. Because he's dropping nugget after nugget just randomly in stories. A lot of agents that come in and they're like, I need everything. I got everything. You know?
No, I knew the market was very simple. I knew if I focused on one niche market first, I could expand later. I wasn't trying to be everything to all people all at once, because that's dilution and it's hard for you to focus and get any traction.
It does provide a lot of it does hold you back.
For someone like me, I've got a little attention deficit disorder here going on, right? But when I dial in, I can really get focused. And so like too many things coming at me at one time holds me back. But if I can dial in and run in a certain direction, like I can have good success. And so I realized I only needed 2 or 3 good carriers that covered most of the health impairments for seniors, and I needed leads. The rest, I figured out. True. So I dropped like $2,400, and I started I did some mail on these same pink mailers that said supplement your government benefit of $255. The government only pays $255. You can now supplement your government benefit, with state regulated final expense programs to help cover the cost of funeral, blah, blah, blah. For more information, fill out the card, send it back, and we'll rush the information to you. Something like that.
Yep. Why didn't you try yellow?
I don't know, because I followed suit, man. I followed suit.
Did pink.
They did pink. That's what I did. I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. I was just going with it, So I dropped some mail, and then they said, well, this is mail. Like, it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks to get this back. And I'm like, well, what the freak do I do in the meantime? Like, can I get my hands, like, are there any other? And they said, well, we got some aged leads that you can get. And I was like, great. Give me those. Like, I'll take whatever. I just want to practice. I just want to practice. I just want to practice. He said, we got 50 leads. The guy literally charged me like $200 for 50 leads that were age leads. I didn't know how old they were or nothing. All I knew is I got a stack of 50 and I print them all off, one on a sheet, and put them in a manila folder. Didn't even look at them. Nice. They were 2.5 hours away in a county down in the south of Kentucky, McCreary County, Kentucky. And now I was still a partner in my other company, in the Yellow Pages business. And I took some time off, and I took a week off, and I drove down on a Monday morning and got down that market, and they had one little hotel there. The other one burnt down. They never built it back. And I checked into this hotel, and then I pull out the leads. I put them on my bed. It's the first time I looked at them. And I looked at every lead, and there was only phone numbers on maybe 40% of them. The other 60% didn't have a phone number, and there were no street addresses on any of them. They were all P.O. Box leads, every one of them.
There was no street addresses.
No street addresses. So here's what I found out. I realized shortly after this. They never did sell those leads to anyone, because the people ordering those leads probably excluded P.O. boxes, and those were ones that came in and they just put them over in a discard pile, and they sold them to Sap Roger here for $200, 50 of these leads. There was not one street address on them, dude.
And you were 2.5 hours from home.
Yep.
And you went before you noticed.
I didn't even. Yeah, I was just going.
I freaking love that.
Go first, figure out the rest after, right? Take action, figure out the rest as you go.
God.
So I was like, okay, how do I figure this out? Well, I realized that there's all these little small towns in this county. So I went to the post office. The post office is like half the size of your studio. There's one person there with like 82 mailboxes behind him. That's it. So I walk in. Hey, Bill, my name's Roger. I had a little thing around my neck with my name on it. Like, Mr. Williamson here had filled out this request for some information, but he didn't have his phone number on here, and all I've got is a P.O. box, but he signed it, and I'm supposed to get this information to him. Well, I'm not really supposed to tell you, where they're at. And I'm like, you see him in here, right? Yeah, he comes in every day. I'm like, I got 2 options, Bill. I can sit here and wait for him to come in, and when he comes in, you can point. That's going to take a lot of my time, and we're probably going to run out of stuff to talk about. Or you can just give me some directions to where he is, and I'll stop by and take care of it right away.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of these people, by the way. Do you know this person? Do you know this person? Well, I built a little rapport. Next thing, this guy's giving me addresses and directions. And literally that's how I got through that batch of leads.
Gosh.
And I went to like 5 different little post offices over 6 days. I ended up selling like $5,300 in 6 days off 2-year-old leads that were P.O. box only.
Without addresses.
Without addresses, yeah. With 2 carriers.
Gosh.
Yeah. First policy I wrote, I remember exactly where I sat, helped him out. The little policy was like $40 and change a month. And it got issued. I got paid. I was like, this is perfect. And then like 10 days later, he canceled it. And like a week later, I got a charge back.
Well, that's not awesome.
No. But anyway, that's how it started out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm listening. I'm listening, and I'm thinking about the audience that is listening to this. Put yourself in Roger's shoes. Okay, you spend $200. You drive 2.5 hours. You get there. You have 50 leads, and they don't have addresses. And you got to go convince some random freaking post office worker who would never normally do this to give you directions and addresses to all these people. What would you do? Most people would have went home. Most people would have tried to call the people they could. Most people would not have went to the post office. Okay, you can act like they would. They wouldn't. Okay, maybe y'all would. I freaking hope you would. I don't know that I would have.
I saw the bagels.
Correct.
I saw the bagels. What you got to realize too is like I didn't normally dress in khakis and a polo. Like I was suited up. I was seeing business owners. I was asking them for $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 at a time for advertising with our company. Like this was my normal business protocol, and I had preset appointments, and here I am completely out of my element, and I'm getting addresses. It's on Snake Lick Road. Go past the tree that got hit by lightning. The top of it's gone, but you'll see it if you go to the next driveway after that and turn in. You'll see a house. Drive up past the house. It's the trailer up there behind it. Like that's how I started. But I could see the bigger picture behind that. I knew that was the start, and I had to start somewhere, so I just jumped in and started figuring it out. There's no other way to start anything. You just got to jump in and figure it stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did.
Yeah.
So $5,300 first week.
Nope. I spread that. I only had 2.5 days each week to go because I had my other job. I mean, I was still working, and so but I snuck away, and so I went 2 weeks in a row. I did 2.5 days each time, cool. And I did like 5 days or so, a full week. But I did like 2,800 the first week, and I did like 2,600 or something like the second week.
What'd you think after that?
Well, my wife said, "What is this going to work?" I said, "Not at the production level I'm getting now." I said, "But
not without address."
I said, "But I am very highly encouraged." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, here's what I know. These leads were 2 years old. I had to struggle to find them, but there was people there that needed me. There's people there that needed what we do. If I can turn this into where I'm getting regular, consistent leads, and I have a system, and I can actually do this full time where I'm not distracted and doing anything else.
Yeah,
you can very easily make a couple $100,000 a year, 3 to 4 days a week.
Oh my gosh!
Very easily do that."
Yeah.
And she said, "Do you think this is a good decision for us?" I said, "I'm still testing it." And so I kept playing around with it, and it was several months later when I finally submitted a letter to my partners and that I was leaving our own company and to chase another dream. Yeah.
What'd they think about that?
They didn't like it. They didn't like it. It was at the time of the recession too. It was like right around 2010. We were 2 years into that first mortgage market crash back in 2008. I could see the writing on the wall. I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
The culture of our company changed. We brought on a private equity group, and they started taking the company in a direction that I didn't really agree with, and so I was ready for a change. I couldn't get any equity out, so I started with just I wasn't able to take my equity out for like 2 years later.
Wow.
3 years later, actually, before I was able to get my equity out of that company.
Jeez.
So I started just like anyone else, like nervous, trying to figure it out, but I could see the bagels, man.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And then what happened after that? It kept going.
Kept going. And then I started to tell the story about what I was doing. I got on a regular lead flow. Production went up. So from January then till as we were running the next year, I remember Forrester's Financial had this trip that they do a sales incentive trip every.
You just went.
Yeah, I was just in Punta Mita.
Just got back. From theirs.
Punta Mita at the Four Seasons with Forrester's.
So awesome.
With Darren Stubbs, one of your other recent podcast guests and speaker at the 8% Virtual.
Yeah,
I keep running into Darren all over the place.
Darren, David.
Yeah.
Bunch of people, man.
And we were there, but Forrester's, I didn't even know who they were at the time, but they were offering a trip to Fiji. And I told my wife, we're going to Fiji on this trip. So I was running hard. And
you told her before?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year. We're going to Fiji.
Love that too, by the way.
She said, okay, let's go.
He put it out there. He made it public. He
Yeah.
told somebody. He
Yeah.
put some pressure on himself.
I was trying to figure out a way to grow and scale a business.
Yeah.
And so I kept talking to the company that I was with, and they just saw me as a sales guy. Like, they never knew me. They were in Dallas. I never went down there. They never invited me down, and never got to meet anybody. And so I made some decisions to make some changes because I needed different contracts. I wanted to get on a different lead program. I was looking for an opportunity to hire and grow a business. And when I let them know I was leaving, then they invited me down. Well, come down, we'll go golfing and we'll have some steak, all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny because I ran into the former president of that company in Paris last year at the Mutual of Omaha Circle of Excellence trip, and we talked about that story.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, yeah, I'm the guy who was calling you, trying to figure out a way forward, and you didn't have a way forward at the time. And he goes, I know. And he goes, I didn't even know your background or who you were. I said, man, none of us really know, do we, who we're talking to, but there's opportunity inside of everyone. I said, I found my way forward. He goes, clearly, even on these trips now. And that's awesome. That's an IMO trip, and he was there. He's working with another group now. He sold his business, but I was just trying to find a way forward, and I couldn't find a way forward there. And so I was going to leave. And I remember it being the third week of May, and I had written $137,400 in production.
This was your first.
My first 4.5 months in the business.
Wow.
And I had Foresters, American Amicable, United Home Life, and a little guaranteed issue company called Presidential Life that's now gone out of business. That was the four carriers I had.
Heard of this.
So I was putting a lot of production with Foresters.
Yep.
And I was getting ready to transition, and I let them know I was ready to go, and they were like, well, and then the one guy that I was working with said, well, I'm not going to release you. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't know what that was, didn't understand that. And so...
and then a lot of agents they have to learn a lot of that on their own. Like, people aren't sitting them down in like a class saying, hey, here's what to look for, here's what to ask, here's what to understand.
So I didn't know that in the group that I was in, there was basically, I was capped out. I could only go so far with my contract levels because of how the structure was set. There was no way forward for me to improve my compensation so I could continue to hire and grow a company.
Because
I was layered out.
Yeah, you were limited by the person above you.
I was layered out, and there was no way beyond that. I mean, there was two guys in that group somewhere, and they just kept telling me they like to fish a lot. I never saw them, but they were making overrides on me. They never brought me any value, and I didn't know who they were. But there was no way for me to do anything to change that. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to make a lateral move. And so I did make a lateral move, and we started to grow our business. And then we started to hire and recruit, and we hit the ground running with a couple of other carriers, and it was off to the races. And then it was, trying to streamline that process. And you go through bumps and bruises along the way, and things like COVID happen, and
True.
Years later, but there was all kinds of other things that happened along the way. But we introduced mortgage protection, final expense, then we introduced retirement protection with annuities, and of course now with Impact Legacy Group, now we have the platform with all the major verticals. For Medicare is blowing up. That's a huge market for us.
It's insane.
Mortgage protection, final expense is still a very big part of what we do.
Yep.
A lot of that's now mortgage protection and final expense. A lot of that's now being done virtually or over the phone.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big transition through COVID, and so a lot of people are doing that over the phone. We've even had a transition away from Zoom to just the phone for a lot of those types of mortgage protection sales.
Wow.
And in addition to that, there's mortgage protection. There's tax-free retirement planning using IULs. There's infinite banking concepts with whole life strategies. I mean, the opportunity is endless. So I could see that out there in the distance. When I started, I knew I had to start in one spot, and eventually I would get there. And so here I am now in my 50s, as you indicated earlier. And
you said it first.
I've been in the business 54. I've been in the business now for since 2014. I started Advanced Team, which is my first company.
It's about 9 years.
And now with Impact Legacy Group, 9 years in, and it's been a phenomenal ride, man. And now I feel like we're sitting at the beginning of the biggest opportunity ever in insurance. Yeah. And I'm just excited about where we're going. I feel like I'm starting brand new just because of the team that we have with us now and the support that we're able to bring to agents around the country. And so the dream that I had, literally the dream that I had when I looked at this back in 2011 for the first time, when I was dabbling and trying to step in, is now, coming to fruition. So I would say that nothing comes quick, nothing comes easy. There's always going to be challenges. But if you keep your eye on the big thing, you'll figure out a way forward.
True.
Your brain, our brains are wired to survive. They're not wired to thrive, right? Your brain is, every day, your brain says, stay alive. And it does everything to stay alive, right?
Yeah.
If you start working out and your brain says, hold on to the fat because you're going to need it because you're working out. Like, so the very things that we're trying to do to, right? But you got to teach your body that I'm going to condition my body. So the pains that you go through initially eventually go away, and then you get into another state, right? So the body wants to stay in this place of comfort. Your brain wants to stay in this place of comfort. You got to teach yourself to see the bagels instead of seeing the line. That's right. And if we can do that, like, doors open up and relationships open up. And so I've been appreciative of my relationship with you, of course, and
likewise,
and all the networking and the great people I've met across the industry. It's been a phenomenal ride.
It's been crazy. We've done a lot together. It's been awesome.
You
also you were obviously selling for years.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the Life Insurance Academy come from? Where was the idea there? Because that's been a big hit. Like, for if you haven't checked that out or listened, like, they're getting a crazy amount of listens right now. I'm talking like nearly, it won't be long and they'll have 100,000 agents a month listening. You know, like, that's nuts.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's
I would say between our channel and your podcast, they're probably the two most reaching media sources in the industry right now.
Well, I'm honored that you would put me in the classification with your channel.
Dude, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I love this, right? We were sharing this because you had YouTube content forever.
Yes.
And I was sharing with you some of the numbers and the reach and the podcast, and you're like, I think I'm going to actually start a regular podcast for audio as well. How do I do that? And literally like 4 days later, you released your first episode.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing this anyway. I might as well be putting audio out.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. But that came from a desire to help people like me get started and be able to get information, be able to open source information so they can make good decisions coming into the business. We knew long term it would be an inbound marketing source.
Yes.
But a lot of the content we put out, we're profiling people from other groups, other organizations that are not even affiliated with us.
Totally.
Because we want to tell the story about the opportunity in this insurance and financial services business. I think it's the best kept secret in America.
It is. It's a good one.
And there's plenty of business to go around. And so we just wanted to feature people in the business. And what better way to learn the business than to interview top people in the business?
Yep.
So, like, it was a little selfish. I wanted to be able to interview people. I wanted to be able to create a platform where people wanted to come and be featured and profiled, but it was also a way for me to attract people to us and be able to put out very good content. And so we started with the podcast, and then we turned it into courses and training. And so it has its own entity. The Life Insurance Academy is its own entity. We do courses and coaching. People can subscribe to our platform monthly to get courses. They can be on our coaching call every Thursday.
You were just on the coaching call a few minutes ago. You did it for an hour, a little over an hour, just before we jumped on and did this. He was doing his LIA coaching call every week.
Every Thursday, and we have all kinds of people from all over the country. I mean, we've had people from multiple countries on our coaching call.
One guy in Africa.
South Africa, yeah. So people from all over jump in because they're trying to change their life. And if we got a way to help them, then fantastic. And they don't have to be a part of our organization. I'm just happy to help. And so it's its own thing, but the podcast, man, is blown up. And then we hired a producer to YouTube just a year ago. We took our subscribers to from 800 to now we've got 5,600 subscribers. We just crossed over there. We just did 5,000 3 weeks ago, and now we're at 50. It's growing rapidly, the YouTube channel, but the audio podcast, Spotify, Apple, I think I don't know how many platforms that we're on now,
There's
Stitcher,
it's insane.
Podbean, Overcast Radio.
See, I don't even know what any of those are.
Alexa. Yeah, I mean, there's Amazon, there's Pandora Radio, all of these. We're going to all of those. I mean, we were getting no listens for the first 5 or 6 months. We started in January of 2020. But in May of 2020, when everyone was locked in, our listens started to go up. And we just saw it continue to go. And it was this past month, I just shared with you some numbers.
Yeah.
We had 61,000 unique downloads in February, shortest month of the year. 61,000 unique downloads of the podcast in February. Now, some of those might be the same agent listening to 4 podcasts over the course of a month.
Sure.
I recognize that. But, I mean, the traffic is on a northeast trajectory,
It is.
And so it's really cool to see that. And we've now been able to bring in guests that have been listening for a year, and they tell us that our podcast has helped change their business, helped change the trajectory of their business. So that's a part of the wanting to give back to the industry and tell people about the best kept secret in America.
That's right, man. It's awesome you do it.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk forever. I wish I didn't have to get to a meeting because I would just keep hanging out and talking, because this has been amazing. Someone wanted to learn more about you, reach out and talk to you in anything you're doing. How would they go about doing that? Where would you like to send them?
They can find me on Facebook. You're going to find 2 accounts on Facebook.
Yeah.
One got busted, and
Yes.
because of 2-factor authentication will not let me back in. But you can find me at Facebook at Roger D. Short. D is for Dale. It's my middle name, Roger D. Short. You can find me on Instagram at Roger Short. LinkedIn, Roger Short. You can reach out through roger.short@impactlegacygroup.com. You can reach me at roger@lifeinsuranceacademy.org. Or you can send, a pigeon with a note.
That's right.
You can probably do that too. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
Boom. Dude, thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being a part of 8% Virtual, which is tomorrow, by the way, that we're going to be hanging out on.
Excited to be here for it.
Appreciate you being here. It's been a blast. Love doing stuff with you. We're going to continue to do that for a very long time. And thanks for being on. Actually, first time solo.
Yeah.
So thank you for being on the Power Player Podcast.
If you guys are not watching the virtual, jump on. But if you're not already got your ticket for the 8% conference in July in Dallas,
that's right.
Get your ticket. That is a game-changing event. We went to check it out tentatively for the first time, and we walked away, and I looked at my team, and I said, we could have invited every agent we knew, and they would have left here better. They would have left here more inspired, with more vision, with more tools and resources to win, regardless of who they're with. Cody, I love what you're doing for the industry. You're bringing all kinds of groups and people together. You're one of the biggest collaborators and networks in the space. You're very diplomatic. You always care about people, and you always try to bring value. And it's the one thing that I can say is your strongest gift is networking and bringing people together and sharing ideas. And you've created a stage and a platform with 8% that very few have ever done. And I think it's a movement that's will be spoken about for generations. I mean, you're doing something impactful. So you saw the bagels, man.
Let's give me some goosebumps, dude.
You saw the bagels.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for all the kind words. Thanks for hanging out in Springfield, Missouri. Thanks for listening. Thank you guys for listening to the Power Player Podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode. Adios. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there. I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. Okay, I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.